Hi everyone, welcome back. Now in this session, we're going to see what will actually happen when the theoretical forward price is greater than the market price of the forward contract. In the previous lecture, we actually took a scenario where the market price of the forward contract was actually greater than the forward price, the theoretical forward price that we actually calculated. And over here, we're now going to take a situation of what would happen when the market price, which is the actual price that you see on the trading screen, is less than the forward price, or when the forward price is greater than the market price. In this situation, we are going to actually have a case of reverse cash and carry arbitrage. All right, if you remember the last session, I called this as cash and carry arbitrage. And now we are going to see a situation called the reverse cash and carry arbitrage. All right. So now for the purpose of this example, I'm continuing with the same old Infosys one, where we calculated the theoretical forward price is 1,729, and I'm assuming that the market price is actually 1,710. 1,710 is obviously less than 1,729. So if you actually look at it, over here, the forward is underpriced. All right. In the previous session, we actually concluded that the forward was overpriced in that case, in that scenario. Over here, the forward is actually underpriced. Is underpriced because the price of the forward contract in the market is less than the theoretical value. And since the forward is underpriced, therefore we have to buy the forward. Obviously, if anything is underpriced in the market, if you think that there is an asset which is worth 1,729, but it's available in the market for only 1,710, then you got to jump and buy that asset right away. All right, therefore you will buy the forward and you will do the opposite action in the cash market. In the derivatives market, you're buying the forward, and in the cash market, you're going to do the opposite of this, which is nothing but you're going to short sell the share. All right. Now, I'm assuming that all of you actually know what short selling is. In case if you do not know what short selling is, my recommendation would be to actually go and watch or read something about it. It would take you around 5 minutes. I do not really want to divert in explaining what the concept of short selling is. All right. Therefore, we buy the forward and we short sell the share in the cash market. All right. This is an action that we would have to do at t equal to 0. Therefore, just like in the previous lecture, if I just write down the steps at t equal to 0, the first step that we are doing is we buy the forward. And when you buy the forward, there is no cash inflow or outflow. The next step that we are going to do is we short sell the share. And when we short sell the share, remember, we are going to actually receive 1,700 because we are going to receive the spot price of the share. All right. So we receive rupees 1,700, which is actually the spot price. Remember, when we short sell the share, we are not going to get the forward price. We're going to get the spot price of the share, which we had assumed to be 1,700 of Infosys. Now, the 1,700 that we received, we're obviously not going to keep it in our pockets. We are going to deposit it. All right. So we deposit rupees 1,700 at the risk-free rate of interest of 7% per annum. And our deposit tenure is going to be for a period of 3 months. And it's going to be for a period of 3 months because my tenor of the forward contract is for a period of 3 months. All right. So this is at t equal to 0. And then after you're done with all these transactions, you actually go to sleep. All right. You do not do nothing for a period of 3 months. At t equal to 3, you wake up. The first thing you do is you receive the maturity value of your deposit. Okay, now you deposited rupees 1,700 in the bank. You are going to receive 1,700 into 1.07 whole power 3 by 12. $1,700 into 1.07 whole power 3 by 12 is nothing but 1,729. This is going to be equal to the theoretical forward price, obviously, right? Not in all cases, guys, but at least in this particular case, in yesterday's and today's lecture, over here, whatever we're getting is maturity value of borrowing or maturity value of deposit. It's exactly equal to the theoretical forward price. In the next lecture, you will actually see where the maturity value of borrowing and deposit is not exactly equal to theoretical forward price, and where you actually have to calculate it separately. All right. So you receive maturity value of deposit. So this is a receipt. So you now have 1729 with you. And then if you remember, we actually entered into a forward contract. Forward contract, we bought a forward, and when we bought this forward at 1710. All right, because this is the market price of the forward contract, which means we bought it at we bought a 3-month forward at 1710. What does this actually mean? It means I have entered into an agreement where I will actually pay 1710 to the opposite party at t equal to 3, and the opposite party will actually give me shares. All right, so I have entered into an agreement at t equal to 0, whereby at the end of the 3rd month, I will pay 1710 and I will receive one particular share from him. All right, so I will honor the forward contract. I honor the forward contract. Implying I pay 1710 and receive one share. Now, are we done with all the transactions? The answer is no. You also short sold the share, and when you short sell a share, remember the process of short selling actually involves borrowing shares from somebody and selling it in the market. The process of short selling is where you do not have a share with you. You go to the market and you borrow a share from someone else. Just like how you borrow money, you are also entitled to borrow shares. Sorry, just a minute, guys. So just like how you actually borrow money in the market, you can also borrow shares in the market, and you borrow shares in the market and then you actually short sell the share, or you sell the shares. And when you sell the shares, you receive 1,700. Now, obviously, if you have borrowed a share from somebody, you have to return the share back to him. All right, that person has lent you the share only for a period of 3 months, and you are obligated to return the share back to him after a period of 3 months, and therefore the last step over here at t equal to 3 is actually going to be returning the share. In step number 5, we actually received one share. The share that we have actually received needs to be returned to the lender. So the share that we actually received over here, we are actually returning it back. Let me maybe just highlight it, because later you guys should not be wondering from where did I actually receive the share to return. All right. So if you actually look at it, your cash inflow at t equal to 3 is 1729. And of the 1729, you paid 1,710 to actually receive the share. And at t equal to 3, remember, you do not have the share anymore with you. The share that you actually received through the forward contract has actually been returned to the lender of the share. All right. You were the borrower of the share. You returned that share back to the lender. And therefore, your net cash flow, if you actually look at it, is actually equal to 1729 minus 1710, which is equal to rupees 19. Okay, this is your arbitrage profit. And again, I'm calling this as an arbitrage because irrespective of what the share price is at t equal to 3, you are at the end of the day going to pay him only 1710. All right, whether the share price touches 2000, whether the share price touches 0, you have to pay 1710 and you will receive one particular share. All right, similarly, your 1729 is also a certain cash flow. There's no uncertainty because you have invested in a risk-free government security where you're actually receiving 1729 at t equal to 3. Therefore, your cash inflow is certain, your cash outflow is also certain, and which means that your net cash flow of rupees 19 is certain. If you look at it again, there is no investment. We actually did not make any investment. We received 1700 and we deposited 1700. Therefore, upfront, there is no investment. There is again no risk. All right. There is no risk on a totality basis. You bought a forward contract on a standalone basis. Buying a forward contract is actually a risky transaction. You short sold a share on a standalone basis. Short selling of share is also a risky transaction. but you have done them simultaneously. And when you do them simultaneously, the risk is actually offsetting or cutting each other out in such a way that the total risk of the transaction is actually zero. All right. So there is no investment and there is no risk, but yet you have actually been able to generate a positive cash flow of rupees 19. And this rupees 19 is nothing but the arbitrage profit that you have actually been able to make. All right. Now, a lot of people like you have identified this arbitrage opportunity and they are in the process of making this arbitrage gain. Now, what will happen to it? When they're in the process of making this arbitrage gain, there's going to be massive buying of forward contracts. All right. When there is massive buying of forward contract, the forward contract price will actually start going up. All right. The forward contract price will now start moving from 1710 slowly towards 1720, let's say. All right. So the forward contract price is going to keep increasing. There is going to be massive short selling of shares. People are going to borrow shares from third parties and they're going to keep selling it in the market. And when this happens, the share price will no longer be 1700. The share price will start falling maybe to, let's say, 1695 or 1690 levels. All right. And similarly, the deposit, which there's going to be massive deposits being made at 7% per annum, which means there's a huge supply of money at 7%. And this 7% per annum is also going to reduce. Just like when there is huge demand for money at 7%, the rate of interest is going to go up. In this case, there is a huge supply of money at 7%, and the rate of interest is actually going to go down. All right. And therefore, what's actually happening is your share price value is falling from 1700 to maybe levels of 1690, 1695. All right. Your deposit, your risk-free rate of interest is also falling, maybe from 7% to 6.8% or whatever. And your forward price is increasing. And these are going to move in such a way that the theoretical forward price, remember the theoretical forward price is being calculated using step 2 and step 3. The spot price multiplied by 1 plus RF whole power T is how you calculate the theoretical forward price. All right. So the theoretical forward price is no longer going to be 1729. The 1729 is going to slowly come down, maybe to levels of 1720. And the forward contract price is also moving from 1710 to 1720. So if you actually think of it, earlier we have the theoretical forward price of 1729 and we had the forward price of 1710 in the market. All right, what is actually happening is the gap is being bridged. All right, the theoretical forward price is falling, the actual market price of the forward contract is rising, and there is going to be an equilibrium established. And once equilibrium is established, then this net cash flow of rupees 19 is no longer going to hold good. The net cash flow will actually become zero and there will be no possible arbitrage. And therefore, in the last lecture, I repeat my statement, arbitrage itself is going to eliminate arbitrage. Why am I saying this? Because there are going to be too many people who are actually going to carry out this arbitrage. And when those people are taking arbitrage opportunities, simultaneously share prices, forward prices, and deposit interest rates are going to move in such a direction that the arbitrage profit will get eliminated. Therefore, people who are taking the arbitrage itself are responsible for eliminating the arbitrage from the market only. All right. So this is called as reverse cash and carry arbitrage, where you actually have a case where the market price of the forward contract is actually less than the theoretical forward price that we actually calculated. All right. This is called as reverse cash and carry arbitrage. Remember, if you do not know what in a reverse cash and carry arbitrage, we are actually buying the forward contract and we are short selling the share. The critical point in short selling the share, what you need to remember is you do not have the share with yourself. You're buying it you're borrowing it from somebody else in the market, and then you're actually selling it in the market. You do not have a share with you. You're borrowing from someone, and then you're selling that share in the market. All right. And you obviously have an obligation to return the share back to the lender at the end of the third month. All right. All right. That's it for this lecture, guys. Thank you. In the next lecture, we will actually see what's going to happen if there is some dividend that is actually being received in between. If you actually notice over here in determination of forward price, I did not give you any dividends that are actually going to be received from Infosys shares. In the next lecture, we will actually see what will happen when we actually have a dividend receipt sometime in between. All right. Thank you. Bye.